Scroggins, plastic surgeon. So, if you missed us before the break, we were just talking about lipo and does that help you lose weight? But another good question came up. What is the difference between lipo and a tummy tuck?
Liposuction is liposuction. Basically, liposuction is where you use a cannula and you inject some fluid to loosen the fat and to anesthetize the fat, and you use a cannula to suction the fat out into the cancer. It removes just fat, not skin. A tummy tuck removes skin and fat.
Okay.
And if you have loose hanging skin, if you just liposuction that, you're still going to have loose hanging skin. It's going to wind up looking worse than it looked before. So in that situation, you need some kind of a tuck procedure. It can be a mini tuck, which is basically you make an incision in the pubic area that extends out to the hip bone, and you take that loose hanging skin and you tighten it. You remove it and you tighten the skin, and you might suction all around.
So you pull it down. So you're
Yes,
actually
pull it
pulling it
down.
down,
Yes.
tighten it,
Exactly.
and then so that's what gives the appearance of it's really
Right,
flat now
right.
because you pulled it down and
Exactly,
tightened it.
exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly. And a full tuck is basically an incision that goes from hip to hip, and you basically excise an ellipse, something the size that's kind of shaped like a football, but you excise an ellipse. You remove all that skin and fat. You leave the belly button in place, and then you undermine to the rib cage, and then you stretch and pull that skin down.
That
Make
sounds
an
so
incision.
painful.
But it's a great procedure. It's a great procedure. And if you need a full tummy tuck, you probably should not have a mini tuck because it's not going to look right. And you're not going to get the result that you want.
So okay, so let's be really clear. The mini tuck is what? Just for the listeners.
It's a little shorter incision.
Okay.
You basically take away some of the tissue from that's hanging, and you don't do any tightening of the abdominal wall. A full tuck is basically you take a ellipse of skin, lift everything up, you tighten the fascia, which is the underlying tissues that.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell us what fascia is. We don't know.
Fascia is the underlying tissue that's thickened, that holds basically the organs in place behind the abdominal wall.
Okay.
You tighten that so that gives you a narrower contour and flatter. And then you go back to where your skin and fat are, and you pull that down to the other incision, to the other wound, portion of the wound. You sew it back together, and that's a full tummy tuck.
And how long does it take for the mini versus the full to heal?
To heal.
Yeah.
Typically, in terms of for a full tummy tuck, I typically tell patients 2 weeks out from work, 6 weeks before returning to your normal activity, and about 10 weeks before you kind of forget that you had the surgery.
Okay.
That's typical. You still have residual areas of numbness where the nerves haven't reconnected yet, but you should be pretty much full go 10 weeks.
In 10 weeks, and that's with the full.
That's what the full.
The mini.
The mini is a little shorter, maybe 3 to 5 days off, and depending how small a mini that you do, there's variations in the thing. But typically, a mini is like 3 to 5 days, and then 3 weeks before returning.
Okay. So again, we just know that social media and just the internet is awesome with giving us all this information and just overloading us sometimes with information. What are the risks?
There is. The most common risk associated with body contouring surgery in general, not the most common, but the one that we fear the most is PE, or blood clot, or pulmonary embolus.
Okay.
Basically, when you're under anesthesia for a period of time, usually they say over 2.5 to 3 hours, and you go home and you don't move, clots have a tendency to have a chance of forming in your pelvis and your lower extremities. One of these, it comes mainly from immobilization or dehydration. And if you don't drink after surgery, you'll develop these clots. Now, that's bad enough, but if you don't move, one of those clots can break off, travel through the bloodstream, go to the lung, and shut off your airway.
Wow.
And not have a problem. You have to go on blood thinners and all kinds of blood loosening things to resume the blood flowing again.
Wow.
But luckily it's rare.
Okay.
It's something that we all watch out for.
Yeah.
And we usually, at the end of the surgery, I give an aspirin just to
Thin that blood out.
just to keep it a little thin.
And then you have compression socks and stuff like that to help.
We take all kinds of precautions during
Yeah.
the surgery, and sequential compression devices is what they're called, to keep pressure, intermittent pressure on the lower extremities to keep clots from forming. And that's dependent on what your risk factors are. If you have a previous history of heart disease or cancer or something like that, you may need more than sequential compression devices. You might actually take some Coumadin after surgery or some kind of blood other than that, stronger than that. That's the worst combination.
Okay.
The others are localized infections like a stitch abscess or little local wound separation or infection, something. But those we can control with antibiotics and minimize the risk. You can also have problems with asymmetry. I mean, if you're asymmetrical, we tell patients if they're
Right.
If they start off asymmetric, they may still be asymmetric after the surgery.
One might be here, one might be, yeah, okay.
But as long as it's reasonable, we always say that we want breasts to be twins. You know, when we reduce them, if we want the same size, we want them twins.
But is it common that breasts are twins?
No, it's very uncommon.
Yeah, because
Very
even if you've never had
Very
anything
common.
done,
Yeah.
it's very common to
Yeah.
not have twin breasts,
but
right?
We want at least one of their sisters.
Fraternal
We
twins,
don't-
if not
we-
identical.
Yeah, we don't want cousins.
No, like your cousins. So, I've actually, done some research and we were talking about risk. One of the biggest things that I kept seeing come up is when, patients go in and they're not completely honest with the doctors of
Yes.
pre-existing things
Yes.
that have happened. And so when you correlate that to deaths, and I'm actually reading into some of these, surgeons, just like Dr. Ford was talking about, do your research on the doctor, but you gotta understand, if they may have had a death, did that person have pre-existing issues that they never told the doctor because they knew that if they told the doctor that the doctor probably would not have
Yeah.
performed the surgery?
Yeah.
How common is that?
Very common, very, very common. We have to, and we have, if they don't tell us, we have to ask. And sometimes we don't know what to ask. That's why our consents are so long, and
Right.
and you really have to go through it.
Right.
And we make them initial every page because that's where we have to have complete honesty
Right.
in terms of patients.
So when we talk about cost range, what is the cheapest procedure all the way up to? How expensive can it be?
No, we don't do anything cheap.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you're talking like a Botox, it's, like for the forehead, it's like, $400. It can be, for a total body reconstruction or a mommy makeover, we can talk.
A mommy makeover, so explain that for those that don't know.
Usually it's someone in their early 40s who, they're all postpartum, they've had their babies, and they want to take their lives back, basically.
I want my body back.
They want their body back, and so they go into a phase of repair. So basically, it's if the breasts are too tight, if they're too saggy, and they want them up, they'll get a breast. Well, the brick word is tonic.
I love
Scroggins.
But if you want them up, you need a reduction. Right, so it can be a reduction or an augmentation, or we
Right.
make them larger. You can use implants or not use implants. Tummy tuck and some kind of liposuction. That's usually what makes it.
Okay, so it's just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And that fee can range anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000,
Okay.
maybe higher.
Is any of that covered under insurance?
So, well, sometimes if you have large breasts that cause creasing in your shoulders
Mm-hmm.
and back pain, or rashes that develop underneath your
Okay,
breasts,
yeah.
you can have insurance will cover that.
Okay.
Insurance will cover that.
Okay, but other than the breast and all of that, is there any way that somebody could get lipo covered under insurance. Do they cover that or?
No.
No. You said no. Okay, so everybody listen, lipo and tummy tucks are not covered
No.
under insurance.
Sometimes if you have a large panniculus.
What's a panniculus?
Basically, it's just a hanging skin that you've got, or especially in weight loss patients that have
Okay.
massively lost weight, massive amounts of weight. You've got this loose hanging skin hanging down to your knees.
Oh, wow.
In that situation, insurance will cover some.
Oh, well, that's good. So that's good to know,
Yeah.
but you have to fit that profile to
Right.
actually have them
Right.
covered. Okay, so moving on to the next line of questions. So we talked about all the things you could do for women and all the great things that women have in Somali. What things can be done for men if a man wanted to get his genitalia area enlarged? Is there anything that you could do for that?
Well, there are a couple of options that have come on board now. For patients that just basically want a thicker girth, you can inject PRP, which is plasma-rich protein, which can basically involve some needles around the penis, and you can inject it and it'll increase the girth. And plasma-rich protein is healthy when you draw some blood from the patient, you put in a syringe, you spin it down, and you'll see it divide up. And the plasma is the area of the tube where that's rich in protein and
Wow.
very healthy. And you can inject that into the shaft of the penis and get some increase in growth size and improvement in size. You can also inject fat. You can mix it with some fat that you can suction from someplace else. In terms of actual lengthening the
Yeah,
penis,
that's the girth, the length.
the length you can, there's a suspensory ligament underneath the penis that attaches to the testicle, to the scrotum. You can make the penis appear larger by shortening that and taking some of the attachments away, which will make the penis hang down lower and appear longer.
Wow.
Actually longer. And I don't do that procedure.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Do you do those procedures?
I do not do that procedure.
Okay. So, but outside of the genital area, you can do pecs for men, because I've seen that
You
on
can,
some of the
yeah.
shows, and I've also seen sometimes men will have the
Abs.
lipo on the side, and they'll have the skin cut off as well. I've also seen it where they'll have
Calf implants.
calf
Yeah.
implants.
You
So,
can do calf implants, you can do fat grafts to the calves to make them look larger.
okay.
You can do those things, so, yeah, but calf implants, you make the incision behind the knee, and you don't want to dissect it, you want to dissect the pocket, but it has to be perfectly appropriate size for the implant that you're putting in.
Okay.
If it's too loose, if the pocket's too big, you've got to move mobile calf, which is not desirable. You don't
Right,
want-
I've seen, well, I say I watch Botched, I've seen people on there like that where the guy is in shape and then his lower body can't get it to fit the topper body, and they'll have them put in, and it looks really odd because, to your point, maybe they put,
The most common male procedure that I do is for gynecomastia, where basically men have larger breasts.
Okay.
And they want them reduced. Basically, we used to.
oh, so the man boobs.
Yeah, man
You get rid of the man boobs.
It's during teenage years, and it can be, when you play basketball, you always want to be on a team that had the shirts, that had the t-shirts. You don't want to be the topless team. Because it was embarrassing. I mean, it was a problem for teenage kids. And so what we used to do is basically we made the incision and cut out, excise the breast tissue, and we'll leave little divots. But now we do a lot of suctioning.
Okay.
We can suction the chest wall and remove the little core that's behind the nipple-areolar complex and achieve a very satisfactory reduction of it. So
Wow.
that procedure's come a long way.
Do you think the men have, like women, we've always been to how we look, and so do you have a lot of men trying to,
It's increasing.
It
It's
is,
increasing.
yeah, it's increasing.
Yeah, because they want to appear, there's emphasis on being in shape, or at least appearing in shape. And,
Right.
You know, in the corporate world, there's an emphasis on youth.
Right.
Everyone wants to appear youthful. So I hear guys coming in with Botox and
Right.
some fillers. So it's an increasing procedure. And the man boobs, as you call them.
Hey, that's what the internet calls them,
That's-
man boobs. We all know that.
That is something that affects kids. Well, affects kids initially because it usually comes around puberty,
Yeah, that's true.
and it can be very challenging and embarrassing for young boys.
Right.
And then they wait until they can afford to have the procedure done when they get older, and then they finally have it done.
Right. Okay. Well, you've given us a lot of information. Definitely, you've educated us and taught us a lot. You've entertained us as well. So how can everybody find you? Where can they find you at?
You can find me at www.drscroggins.com, and that's my website. I'm on Facebook and Instagram,
Okay.
and I haven't looked those up.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm there, and ask any question that you want.
Okay, and so where are you located?
I'm at 7525 Greenway Center Drive
Okay.
in Greenbelt, Maryland, Suite 113. We see patients, it's pretty much daily. I think Friday I operate for the most part, but that's the space. That's not where the magic happens.
That's where the magic begins to happen. Okay. And so just for anybody just gonna reach out to you, how quickly can you get them in? If a patient comes to see you Monday, a week. Okay. Okay. All right then. Well, it has been a pleasure having Dr. Scroggins and Dr. Ford on, and we are going to take a short break, and we're going to be back for the second half. So thank you so much.